We had a bye week last week. How was Thanksgiving? How was Canadian Thanksgiving? Let's
It
start off
was
with that.
it
Let's
was
start
good,
right
man.
there.
I was on turkey duty, so everyone enjoyed it, which was a big win. And happy Thanksgiving to any of the Canadian listeners out there. I know it was last weekend, but hope everyone had a nice weekend.
Oh shit! Got a video playing. Trying to tweet this link out, but yeah, good. Well, hey, real quick. So does that mean that you're interested in Derrick Henry these days, or is it American Thanksgiving is your rule? I know he's not on the slate today, and he's not really on the slate this morning. Not doing a whole lot last I looked. But what is the rule for your Derrick Henry love? Is it American Thanksgiving or Canadian?
It's American Thanksgiving because that actually started on the famous three-game American Thanksgiving slates on Thursday when there's one at noon Eastern, 4 Eastern, and 8 Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. There's usually three games there, and those slates are a ton of fun. That was my favorite slate getting into DFS many, many years ago, and Derrick Henry won me a ton of money on that given day. So that's actually where it originated. It's going to be American Thanksgiving.
Okay, right on. All right, well, let's get into position by position breakdown. Another quick show. We got 11 games, I believe, only 2 teams on by. Let's start at the top. Just real quick, 5% own Jalen Hurts. You going to play him or no? There are some severe injuries. DJ Reed's out, and I believe Sauce Gardner is also out. On the Philly side, I think Jalen Carter is out. I believe Darius Slay is also out. And I'm missing one of their linebackers as well. I don't have those pulled up in front of me. If you guys got injury duty today, Ghost and I are out of all the news right now, so keep us updated with inactives and other injury news. But yeah, it sounds like that game got bet up 1.5 over the last 24 hours. So
It did.
I started to like it a little bit just because, like, in terms of that whole game, real quick, no one's playing AJ Brown. Garrett Wilson's only 6K flat on DraftKings. It's not like, he's underpriced or anything, just given the situation with Zach Wilson, but no one's playing that game at all. So you could, even Swift, I think Swift's ownership dropped a lot. Where's he at? 10 to 12% I'm seeing on Swift. Yeah, and then AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are going to be sub 5%. Dallas Goedert maybe draw some ownership a little bit, but
yeah, after last week, Goddard's going to be the most popular of the three there.
Do you like that situation? We could kind of just flip the whole script on this week's show. Like, every game, for the most part, is either unplayable or going to have a ton of interest. Like, I don't think
There's no in
anybody's going to
between
play.
for me.
Yeah, no one's playing San Francisco, Cleveland. I don't think we need to even touch much on that. New Orleans, Houston, probably not. Maybe one off Kamara, or if you're crazy, you could get, pretty weird and stack Derek Carr. Michael Thomas is at a nice price. Chris Olave, like, there's not going to be ownership on the passing game there. And then Detroit, Tampa Bay, I don't think anybody's going to play anything on that side. And yeah, so it's like Philly, New Jersey New York was probably one of those games as well. Do you like Jalen Hurts?
I want to. I think
or is it just too pricey?
It's not just the price thing. It's more the fact that I have more doubt in the Jets offense keeping pace than I do with the Eagles offense doing well. I think it's more of that in terms of a stackable situation where it's, do I want to commit the primary core of my lineup to this game? And for me to do that, I need both sides of the football moving back and forth. I don't know how Zach Wilson handles that Eagles front seven, man. Like, they are going to absolutely bull rush him at an unbelievable rate this week. So that's the thing where it's kind of preventing me from getting there, because if you're going Jalen Hurts, I don't know how you play Jalen Hurts without at least one of Devonta Smith or AJ Brown, especially
it's AJ Brown at this point.
Yeah,
like he's the guy.
Like that, and that's exactly what I was about to get to, is that if you're playing Jalen Hurts, are you really going to commit to your main stack with Devonta Smith? Like, that's like, I'm not saying it can't work out. It definitely can. And you've kind of seen this Eagles offense do that from week to week in the early stages of the season, where it's, one game AJ Brown is kind of throwing a bit of a fit on the sideline. The next game he comes back and gets a million targets. Dallas Goedert hasn't really been involved all that much. Speaks out about it publicly. Coach recognizes it, this and that. He goes out, like, you know what I mean? So last week was the week that Devonta Smith was kind of that odd man out. So if you're really taking a deep dive into those kind of analogies, I guess I'll say, it would be a Devon Smith week, but I don't know how you commit to 8.2K Jalen Hurts without playing AJ Brown. And at that point, you are committing like I was alluding to before, you're committing the primary core of your lineup to a very pricey stack that you're banking on the fact that the New York Jets are keeping pace in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So probably too expensive. It'll be certainly different in GPPs, but yeah, that's probably starts and ends there. In terms of quarterbacks, overall ownership right now, when I filter through that, Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, that's pretty much the three on the day. I don't think Justin Fields is going to draw a whole lot of ownership now that the wind in Chicago is going to be pretty rough. It doesn't look awful. I mean, my trees are blowing a decent bit when I looked right before the show. But it is kind of cold. It is going to be 20 to 30 mile an hour winds, Mr. Kevin Roth on Twitter says. So down by the lake, too, that's a lot more windy than it is more inland where I live. But pretty much those three are everybody's quarterbacks, and they're priced so affordably on DraftKings. Like, it's very easy to build lineups with these guys. The target shares for these quarterbacks are very condensed. You know where it's going with Joe Burrow. Obviously, we probably would have wanted T. Higgins to be out to go back to all in Jamar Chase. If you had Jamar Chase, you pretty much cashed in anything you did last week. If you didn't, you probably didn't or just made it to the pay line. Matt Stafford's my favorite of choice. And then Trevor Lawrence, I have nothing bad to say about him. It's pretty much just a pass funnel defense with the Indianapolis Colts. And you know where the ball is going. It's going to Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, and maybe a little ETN. But out of those three, who's your favorite? And then is there anybody else outside of those three? I mean, they're in the three highest total games. There's just a lot to like with that situation. And then I guess the tournament one-off, if you're not playing Jalen Hurts, I put Jimmy Garoppolo honorable mention because I do like that Las Vegas offense a lot today. Other than that, it's Jalen Hurts or Tua if you're not playing one of those three, I think.
Yeah, for sure. To get to the first part of your question, out of that group, it's going to be Matt Stafford for me.
Yep, same here.
And the reason why I didn't end up with pretty much any Eagles stacks is because I wanted to double stack Hurts with Devon Smith and AJ Brown. And when you flip the script there, I'd much rather stack Matt Stafford with Puka and Cooper Kupp for essentially the same price. I don't know exactly what it equates to depending on what site you're working out with, but it's pretty much the same price either way. And for me, I'm going to give a heavy nod to the Rams at home here against the Arizona Cardinals. So that's the way that I'm going with, I guess I'll say the chalky-ish quarterbacks. But my tournament guy is going to be Tua. Everybody's going to be playing Raheem Mostert, and rightfully so. Absolutely crazy price on DraftKings this week. Staple point for your cash lineups for those that are playing cash, as you should, every single week. But for me, it's going to be Tua. There's a lot of damage to be done against this Carolina secondary with everybody focusing on Raheem Mostert. Miami's going to push the pace. Heavy favorites once again. And we saw it against Denver when they had an absolutely ridiculous output. And I'm not saying they're going to drop another 70 spot here today on this Sunday, but there's a lot of damage to be done, man, with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill on that offense. So for me, you're looking at quarterbacks where when you're double stacking, it's oftentimes the guys of interest today are going to be high-priced wide receiver options. Tua with Waddle and Tyreek makes you extremely different in tournaments, man, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the highest floor of a double stack and the highest ceiling of a double stack today. So yeah, I think Tua in tournaments makes a ton of sense, especially with the ownership that Mostert's going to carry. And we'll get to running backs here in a second. But that's like the obvious leverage spot is if 45 to 50% of the field is going to play running back. And I love Mostert too. There's just nothing wrong to say about him. If you equate all the player props out there into fantasy points, I think he and Bijan Robinson would tie with the highest score. And obviously the price of Bijan's a lot higher than Mostert. So makes a lot of sense there to play Mostert, especially against Carolina run defense that grades first in worst defense DVOA rating. Kind of a terrible way to put that. My bad there. Didn't have any coffee this morning. It was kind of a tough morning when there's no coffee in the house. I should have made some, but or made a run. I just didn't get out of the house. But we got Mr. Jason mentioning Geno. Do you like Geno at all? I just feel like that offense kind of sucks this year, and like it runs through Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet is starting to get a lot of tech too. Like I think that's kind of the way Pete Carroll wants to play now, is to slow it down a little bit and not get into a shootout with Joe Burrow. Like, this is not the same offense as last year. Sorry, I was just reading Stephen King's comment, but I suck today. I need some coffee, boys.
This is what, our third, fourth, fifth season doing this together, and we always talk about the infamous rookies coming off a bye week, and that's Zach Charbonnet this week. And you saw a drastic uptick in snaps for the second round draft pick there for the Seattle Seahawks in this last draft.
Yeah,
and it's been increasing. His run routes on Geno Smith dropbacks. Like I it's not to the point where I think Kenneth Walker comes off the field, but it's gonna be continuing trending in that direction. And I think it's exactly that. I think Seattle needs to slow down this pace, especially on the road. The Bengals did seem to get their groove back last week. Joe Burrow looked good. Jamar Chase went absolutely wild. And I think they're going to continue building on that. I rather lean on the run game in this one. So I do like Joe Mixon. I don't know if there's a running back on this slate where outside of Christian McCaffrey, because he's just in his own tier. And you're looking at the rest of the group here and you're saying, okay, who can really get to 20 touches? Man, you could really make the argument that every single week you're saying Joe Mixon is going to be that guy, because that's a running back that doesn't come off the field, right? So is he getting these?
It's a running back that can't run for 15 yards and one carry anymore.
Like,
but
it's just one of those things where, okay, is he getting 5, 6, 7 yards per carry and he's looking explosive? Absolutely not. He looks borderline atrocious if we're calling it like we see it. But at the same time, when you're getting 20 touches for 80 yards, man, like he's really not far off from getting that 100-yard bonus, and he gets into the box. These 16, 17, 18-point weeks at 6,300 on DraftKings, it's coming, and it's coming fast. So I much rather lean on the run game there. And priced right next to Raheem Mostert too. Nobody's playing Joe Mixon today.
I'm playing Joe Mixon. I have him both.
We are both.
I'm glad his ownership's down, dude.
In case I wasn't making that clear, we're both playing Joe Mixon today.
I hate it. I hate it so much. I was all in on him.
Playing Joe Mixon in tournaments.
I did not play him, or I did play him everywhere last week. I did not play Jamar Chase in the passing game. And yeah, obviously Joe. I mean, dude, he had like 5 carries on the goal line, so like he doesn't leave the field. Like
it's coming.
I think it's
coming.
He's got to be close. I'll pull this stat next time that you go on a little rant. I'll see who has. I should have this data somewhere that shows the most like carries inside the 5. It's got to be. I mean, it's probably him or Jalen Hurts. Honestly, is the fucked up part. Like it's the tush push, and then it is. I bet you Joe Mixon's at least top 3 in touches.
Probably David Montgomery's up there too.
Yeah,
I guess the top 3, it's probably them.
Okay, yeah, David Montgomery. All right, next time you get on a position rant, I will try to filter that data real quick. All right, so let's go to running backs. In terms of quarterbacks, no sneaky guys or anything we didn't mention. Like I feel like when you're talking yourself into playing like Gardner Minshew, Jimmy G. I mean, I kind of like Desmond Ridder, but that just burned me so much week 3, I think that was, or week 4. I'd rather just have like one-offs of that Atlanta offense. I don't think I could ever go back to stacking it unless they're like a 10-point road favorite somewhere. But yeah, for Geno, it's not for me. I think that this, without Dave Canales, he went to Tampa. They're still throwing it a good bit, and they are. I got their no huddle rate. They still run a lot of no huddle, so they're not playing slow. It just, I don't think they want to get into a shootout with Cincy. Any other quarterbacks you want to talk about, or is that pretty much it?
I was going to say, when you want to drop a tier with double stacking coming off a bye week, this one, I can't really get there all that much. It's just not really hard to be over the field if you're an MME player. Getting Baker Mayfield at that price coming off a bye, they had ample time to prepare for this game at home. And it seems like every week Detroit games, just whenever they play a somewhat competent offense, they turn into shootouts, man. So at 7,100, Mike Evans is going to be on my tournament list, and by default kind of made me land on Baker, but that's only in really large field tournaments. Nobody's playing him, so it's really not that hard to get over the field if you're entering many lineups. He's not going to be a single entry or a 3 max guy for me, but if you're going into these 20 max or 150 maxes, I would definitely add some of that Tampa offense.
All right, running backs. Let's go to the top of the board. Sort by salary here. Christian McCaffrey did a massive jump off to David Montgomery. Rather low Bijan, 7K and above on DraftKings. Give me your thoughts on Jacobs and above on DraftKings, and I'll get this inside the 5 stat pulled up here.
Man, if everyone, anybody that clicks on Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to say, yeah, that's not only okay, it's a great play. Like, it's Christian McCaffrey. There's nothing really more that we can add to that. Similarly, when you write your articles, it's Christian McCaffrey. Outside of that, there's nobody of real interest that I have here. Monty's going to be locked into a million touches, and I think the passing offense struggles a little bit. They do get Amon-Ra back today, but I think Tampa had so much time to prepare this game, and they have some serious playmakers on that defense, man. I respect Tampa's defense in this one. So Monty's going to get arguably the most, if not a top 3 amount of touches at the running back position this week, but I don't know if I could get there at that price. I'm pretty much out on this range.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never talk anybody off playing Christian McCaffrey. We're way off. All right, here's the top 3. Monty was second. That was a good one.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts is 12th. First is Tony Pollard.
Wow.
Tony Pollard, David Montgomery, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's tied for second. They both have 8 attempts inside the 5. Christian McCaffrey, that makes a ton of sense. Josh Jacobs, tied for 4th here. Or I guess that'd be 5th. Guess who's tied with him? He's a backup.
Oh, man.
Not on this slate, so it doesn't really matter. So we're kind of wasting everybody's time here, but I just thought this
was going to say Justice Hill.
A.J. Dillon.
Wow.
Yeah, finally had something to show for it last week. And then Kyron Williams and Swift, Mostert, and Joe Mixon's right there. So a lot of people tied for 5. But yeah, I thought Mixon would be way higher on that. But yeah, Tony Pollard leading the charge there. Dave Montgomery, that's just what that Lions offense does. Obviously, Jamal Williams led the NFL in that stat last year with Jalen Hurts. So yeah, so good for Kenneth Walker. I think he's super touchdown dependent. I don't think he runs many routes anymore. I think that's what Charbonnet's kind of got to work himself into, but excellent tournament play this week. Do you like Bijan? I think if we're paying up at all, like, I'm not going to compare Bijan to McCaffrey. I tried to do that in last week's article, and you just see like Christian McCaffrey is on a different level. Obviously, Bijan, that touchdown he had, you could see how special this guy is. It's just Atlanta's offense is not anything near, as polished as San Francisco is. I think San Francisco is like top 3 in both passing and rush offense DVOA. So like they are extremely efficient in everything that they do. But for 2,300 less, I'm not playing David Montgomery. I get he's going to get a ton of touches. I still respect Tampa Bay's run defense. I respect anything with Vita Vea, who's as wide as 2 linemen for the most part inside the NFL. But Bijan at 7,200 and no ownership seems like a very ideal situation this week. I mean, Travis Etienne's priced right next to Bijan Robinson. That's kind of a sin. And then Josh Jacobs is $200 less, so pretty much the same price range in drawing significantly more ownership than Bijan Robinson. I do love Josh Jacobs. Talk about Joe Mixon never leaving the field. Josh Jacobs never leaves the field.
If I'm playing one of that range, it's going to be Bijan.
Yeah, like, especially in tournaments.
Do I like these guys a ton? Like, I like them to the point where I'll have them in my player pool, but I'm building my main single entry. Those aren't names that I'm clicking, but I do like them. If there's one out of that range that like you would kind of say like you're not leaving this range without picking one name, it's going to be Bijan.
Okay, I think that's fair. I mean, Josh Jacobs, I think is fantastic for cash games. I mean, he's viable in tournaments too. The Patriots can be run on, and the Las Vegas run game is getting much more effective on the ground over the past 2 to 3 weeks. Let's go under 7K. If you guys got questions too, hit us up, please. Otherwise, we're just going to rant. Here we go, David. Let's see what we got. Season-long PPR. Already started Pacheco.
You got to start those 3 wide receivers. That is lethal.
Good God, yeah. What the hell? I guess you probably got lucky with, not lucky, but Kyron, you probably didn't draft. You got him really late, and now it's like he's forcing himself into your lineup.
I don't want to influence you, but I'm taking Kyron there. I'm taking Kyron
for the PPR. Kyron doesn't leave the field either. And like we said, I'm speculating that is what's going to happen with Charbonnet, that he's going to run a lot more routes than Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's still going to be their guy that gets 15 plus carries, but on the ground, through the air, that should be a little more work to Charbonnet. And then Kyron Williams, again, just doesn't leave the field. So let's go 6K range. Alvin Kamara, way too cheap. I think this is an excellent matchup against Houston. Houston ranks 7th to last in defense DVOA against the run. I mean, this is pretty much everybody's range. I think everybody's playing at least one, if not two of these guys. And if they're playing just one of them, you know where they're going. It's going to be Chuba Hubbard or Donta Foreman for the Chicago Bears. So if you had to choose here, it sounds like you and me are lockstep. I'm seeing Mixon's ownership drop every single day. Some sites still have it at like 15. I just don't see how that's possible because I think people are going to play Mostert and they're going to go down to save, or they're going to play Mostert and go up to Kamara or Josh Jacobs looking at ownership projections right now. So I think the two forgotten guys in the 6K range that I like a ton, and I'm fine if you fade Mostert. I wouldn't advise it, but anybody that's going to be 30 to 40% owned can, especially a guy like Mostert. He's over 30. He's had plenty of issues, one with fumbling recently and injuries in the past. So it's like if he, something, knock on wood, if something freaky happens, 35 to 40% of the field just gone right then and there. So if you want to play Swift and Mixon or something like that, you can certainly do that. So those would be my two. I think Swift and Mixon. Obviously, Mostert's going to be a cash game staple. As of now, he is in my main higher dollar single entry GPP. Just because the team total there, what are they projected for? 31 points.
I think the line moved up. They might be 2 touchdown favorites again this week, back-to-back weeks.
Jeez. So real quick, what is a good running back on FanDuel for 7,000?
7K. You got Bijan there at 7.6 and Kamara at 7.5. So if you can squeeze out $500, I would definitely recommend that. If not, Joe Mixon is a flat 7K. That would be my guy. If you absolutely love the rest of your lineup and you can't get $500 to $600 for Kamara or Bijan, Joe Mixon at 7K is going to be my guy.
That's not bad. Mechie, we'll get in the wide receivers for a bit. It sounds like Robert Woods is good to go. I do think Mechie still gets a lot of run. Noah Brown is supposed to be active as well, but I think Mechie's going to play more on the outside, and they'll probably move Woods back inside. Tank Dell's likely going to be out, or is out with a concussion. So there you go. Season long, half point PPR, Osborne or Downs? Ooh.
I like Downs. Again, not to influence you. I know I spoke before you on the Kyron thing there, and sorry for cutting you off. Man. But I like Downs this week with seems to have a real connection with Minshew.
I like both. I don't think either way that this flips your week. I think Downs is higher upside. KJ Osborne's probably got a higher floor. I think KJ is probably going to play the X and be the guy that gets more of Tyreek Stevenson, the rookie for the Bears. So it is what it is, but I don't know. Like KJ Osborne just doesn't impress me. He's kind of been he's not like a journeyman, but I don't know. The upside in Josh Downs seems a lot more appealing. I would say if you're a dog in your matchup, play Downs. If you're a massive favorite, play Osborne. If you're somewhere in the middle, flip a coin. I would lean Osborne. Ghost would lean Downs. All right. Running backs, 7K. I'm just pulling up FanDuel. Yeah, Joe Mixon right there. DeAndre Swift at 7,200. I like that. I don't mind Madison, but yeah. All right. 6K and below. What are your thoughts real quick on DeAndre Swift? I know it's the Jets. You could run all over the Jets, by the way, and their defense is banged up. And that offensive line for Philly is so good.
He's the opposite of what we talked about downside with Joe Mixon. There's none of those explosive runs, at least not this season. DeAndre Swift's the opposite. It's very little touches in the red zone, and the touchdown equity takes a massive drop when you're in the same backfield as Jalen Hurts. But man, does he have some of those explosive runs every single week. So
he's running routes, man. He's a pass catcher. He's like a 2.5 down back. You'll see a little bit of Gainwell, but when this game's within one score, or when Philly's within one
he's
score,
gonna be a 3 down back there. If especially for me, I was gonna talk about this too, and we talked about the 6K running backs. This game seems like a trap to me, man. Vegas is not moving that line. They're staying firm on. It's gonna be all these injuries coming out. The line's not moving. So this one, I think it stays closer than what most are anticipating.
Sounds like you're in on Swift. If you had to choose one, Mixon or Swift on DraftKings?
Taking Joe Mixon.
All right, I'm with you.
I made my peace with it.
It scares the living shit out of me.
Yeah,
I think he closes.
I made my peace with it, though.
I think he closes sub 10% in ownership. I think every projection source out there is way off. It just can't go that much Mostert and that much Mixon and that much Kyron Williams. It wouldn't make any sense. So I don't see how they do it. Anybody below 6K. I think my way of getting different, I'll play Chuba Hubbard in cash. I don't think I have much love for Donta Foreman. Like, if I had to choose on DraftKings, I'm going to play the guy that's going to catch more passes, and that certainly should be Chuba Hubbard. I think my way of getting difference is not playing any of those fucking guys. Pardon my language. Sorry, but like 18% ownership on Foreman, 25 on Chuba. Those guys have no ceiling, or is that the right phrase? Or a very low ceiling. Like what's like Foreman maybe because he could run into 2 or 3 touchdowns, I guess, if the Bears move the football and they don't give it to Justin Fields in the red zone. Like I see him having a higher ceiling, but Chuba Hubbard, what are we actually expecting? 12 points? And you're hoping for that?
And the problem is that when they go down by 3 touchdowns, 30 seconds into the game, what are you going to do? Like, what are you planning on doing with Chuba Hubbard in your lineup when they're down by 3 touchdowns, 30 seconds into the game? Like that's my thing. With like I have 0 Chuba Hubbard. And
I'm playing him in cash.
I have 0. I can't do it.
Any love for
but cash games, yeah, because he's going to be 90% roster in cash games. But like
any love for Alexander Madison at sub 5%. Everybody's going to Addison or Osborne or Hawkinson. Like one of those guys is going to be supremely overowned. Any love from Madison, or does the use of Cam Akers scare you a little bit?
For the 4th week
that's a good spot for Alexander Madison.
4th week in a row, I'm going to Alexander Madison, man. It's been 4. I'm not kidding. It's been 4 weeks in a row. The attempts weren't all there last week, but it was because they were trying to keep pace with Patrick Mahomes. Justin Jefferson or not, they could keep pace with the Bears. So, yeah, Alexander Madison on the road. Yes, I'm in at 5,600.
All right. Any darts like Salvin Ahmed or Craig Reynolds, I guess, is going to play a little bit again. Charbonnet, like we're not doing that, right? I think both of us is we're going to get cute by not getting cute.
Kyron and Mostert are sandwiched like this on DraftKings. I'm going right above and right below. So I'm going Kamara and Mixon.
Sweet.
That's what I'm doing.
Wide receivers. Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua up to 8K. Whew. They're all awesome. I'm going to say Stafford's my main quarterback today. He's the Fields' main quarterback, which kind of scares the daylights out of me, but I'm going to get different elsewhere. I'm not playing Puka. I'm going to prioritize Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams. I'm paying up for both of those guys. I'm not going to talk off Jamar Chase and his 25% ownership, but I'm not playing that in the tournament with T. Higgins coming back in a game there. I project Seattle to run the hell out of the ball and kill some clock. Devontae, I mean, I can't say anything wrong about Tyreek Hill. I think Ghost, we're pretty much advising everybody to do some sort of double stack with Tua just somewhere to kind of hedge out this Mostert chalk. I think that'll be, if you're doing a 3-max, I would recommend Tua double stack in one of them. Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams are my core plays for the week. And I can afford them because of some players I'll talk about in a second, but it's them and nobody else for me. I think Devontae Adams, he's going to get a lot of J.C. Jackson. The Patriots secondary is decimated. Devontae Adams absolutely crushes J.C. Jackson. He'll see other guys too in that coverage. It's not just going to be J.C. Like Jacoby Myers is going to get a lot of J.C. Jackson too, so I like him. All he does is produce, and he's 5,800. But Devontae Adams, off a very down week against the Packers, no one's playing him. Sub 10% ownership projection is what I'm seeing. I think that'll raise a little bit, but Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, my core plays of the week on the wide receiver position.
I like it. I like that a lot. The reason why I can't get up to the Bijan Robinson and Josh Jacob range of running backs is because I have 2 of these guys in every single lineup. Been kind of hinting at that the whole show, and you talked about my 2 double stack, and there's a ton of playmakers here. Tyreek and Cooper Kupp are going to be the guys that I have the most of. I have a little bit more Puka than Jamar Chase just because Stafford's going to be a higher exposure rate for me than Joe Burrow. So I don't even mind paying 8K for Puka. In the event that I'm doing it on both sides, right? It's Mostert and Kyron are probably going to be anywhere between 30 to 50% rostered in single entry tournaments. So for me, it's going to the Rams pass stack, going to the Miami pass stack. And you're not I'm not taking any shots at the Atlanta offense here or anything, or previous weeks that we've spoken about or anything like that. But it's not like you're fading Bijan Robinson to stack Desmond Ridder. Like you're fading Raheem Mostert and Kyron to stack with Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp. Like the upside is enormous. So for me, I'm like I'll even include the 7.6 range to show some respect to Jalen Waddle and the AJ Browns and the Amon-Ra's of the slate. 7.6K and above, I have two of these guys in every single one of my lineups. That's how I'm getting different today.
Love it. Anybody in the 7K range you like outside of Jalen Waddle?
I talked about Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin on FanDuel, I saw there was a question, 6K wide receiver on FanDuel. I really don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to make you change the rest of your lineup. But Chris Godwin, 63. I think he's 6,200 or 63. Like, find the $200 or $300 that you need and get Chris Godwin in there, man. Like, there's absolutely no reason for him to be that cheap. I know it's only half point PPR there, but there's nobody in the same stratosphere talent wise as Chris Godwin on FanDuel over there. Other than that, there's not many people that I'm playing in this range just because I'm investing at the top of the pricing grid. If I had to pick one, it's going to be Calvin Ridley. But there's not many guys that I'm playing in this range.
Cool. I love Calvin Ridley. I like Michael Pittman if you want to stack that game. That Jacksonville Indy game is very stackable. You know where the ball is going. Garrett Wilson, we mentioned as like a very low-owned bring back if you're going to stack the Eagles that no one's going to be on. Jordan Addison, I think, is just a full fade for me. I have no interest in that game, really, other than Alexander Madison. I'll let that. Kirk Cousins doesn't scare me. Yeah, dude, I was thinking about this earlier real quick, Steve.
I was just about to say that.
I don't think I've never wore a hat on the stream. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just new day. Maybe it's a great day. Maybe we ship some GPPs because my GPP lineups have absolutely fucking sucked this year. And I apologize to everybody for some of the takes, but it is what it is. We got to write that GPP ship because cash is keeping us alive, but it's used to be a GPP player. I don't know what the hell happened, but yeah, getting conservative, playing cash games, it's working. But Jordan Addison, I will let that chalk go. I'm not playing him in cash. I'm not playing him in GPPs. I'm just not playing the Minnesota Vikings at all. Christian Kirk, 5,400. Is he a cash game staple? I mean, he's 5,400 and has a receiving prop at 63 yards. That's unheard of. I guess Nico Collins was close to that recently. But
I have him in there.
You have him in there in cash?
I have him in there, yeah.
So I think for me, I'm either playing Ridley in cash or I'm playing Evan Ingram. But if Christian Kirk's there, absolutely fire him up. I mean, his usage is absolutely.
I went to Goddard. That's
roof.
why I played Kirk.
Okay.
I went to Goddard. I didn't want Jacksonville double stack, so I went Kirk and then I went Goddard.
Nice. Okay. And then the most popular bring back of all, if people are stacking the Rams or just mini stacking Kyren Williams and a pass catcher for Arizona, it is going to be Hollywood Brown. I think Hollywood Brown is awesome in cash. If you saw the article, he's top 10, and I believe all three of the wide receiver metrics that I post in that table. I have no problem with you playing him in tournaments. I think the ownership's just a little too much for me for Hollywood Brown to where I'm not going to go there. Everybody's going to play either Christian Kirk or Marquise Brown in tournaments, it looks like, as well, just using that mid-tier wide receiver relief. I'm going to get off that situation or go cheaper, and I love Drake London. What are your thoughts on Drake London? Emmanuel Forbes sucks. I mean, DJ Moore, I think, cooked him. He should have had 6 touchdowns when they played Washington. AJ Brown, I don't want to compare Drake London to AJ Brown. Like, DJ Moore's a stud too, so like Drake London certainly is not in that conversation of a wide receiver yet. But Stephon Diggs absolutely killed this secondary. It's Stephon Diggs. AJ Brown, I think, put up 40 on this secondary, and DJ Moore put up almost 50 against the secondary. So I think we should be in a very good spot for a Drake London ceiling game, which is probably like 25 points. It's not going to be the 30, 40, 50 that we saw of Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, and DJ Moore. But for 4,800 and no one's playing them, I'm going to play Drake London. I think that's my way of getting different off of the Hollywood Brown and Christian Kirk chalk in tournaments.
I'll let you do it one more week. Friends don't let friends stack the Atlanta Falcons weekend.
I'm not stacking.
I'll let you do it. I'll let you get exposure to the Falcons for one more week. For one more week. I'm giving you one more week. I did the same thing with Javonte. I don't want to hear about Javonte again.
Thank you.
I'll give you the 1 week. But next week, if we're back here again and Desmond Ridder throws more picks than completions, we are going to start a dialogue about your exposure to the Atlanta Falcons offense this year. But I will make some lineups with Jake London to support. But we're doing this one more week.
Okay, fine. Dude, it's coming. It may not come though. That offense.
But this it's nothing against Jake London.
So
I love Jake London. He's a terrific player. My problem is with the man throwing him the football. That's my issue. It has nothing to do with Jake London. It has nothing to do with Kyle Pitts. It has nothing to do with it's just they can't I don't know. We're doing it one more week and that's it.
I'm doing it because it's 3 to 5% ownership when everybody's playing Hollywood Brown and Christian Kirk.
1 week.
And it gets me those 2 running backs that I want in the 6K range.
Okay. So I will do it as well for support. I will do it.
For solidarity. Appreciate that.
For the brotherhood over the last couple of years. But I'm telling you, if we get back here next week, we are going to start a dialogue.
All right, hand up if it works. Okay. If it doesn't work, hand up. I will I'll apologize to everybody. Going lower than 4,800. Looks like all the ownership will be on KJ Osborne and Josh Downs. I have nothing wrong to say about Josh Downs. I think he's a perfect cash game play. I think he's a viable piece if you're going to game stack this game. I think you could certainly go, 3 Jacksonville guys and run it back with 2 Colts guys. This game should be a little higher pace if you trust Gardner Minshew is the issue there. I kind of like DJ Chark as a bring back in that double stack for Tua. 0% ownership right next to Josh Downs. DJ Chark is running very, very deep routes. The issue there is obviously the Carolina offensive line can't really hold down pressure very much. And DJ Chark's kind of just running because the ball's never ever going to get there because they don't have time to throw it. But do you like DJ Chark as a straight up pivot off of a 15% owned Josh Downs?
Yes.
The game environment is going to be perfect for Carolina. So I guess maybe even Jonathan Mingo's in this conversation. I have no love for 5,900 Thielen, but the guy's getting the football. So I'm not going to talk you off Adam Thielen. I didn't want to skip over him or Tyler Lockett at 5,700 seems to be mispriced. But DJ Chark just screams I always look for someone that's going to be 0% owned. And I'm not going to force them into my lineup or anything, but I do want to identify some of these spots that could get you extremely different just with one player. If they're down 14 points in 30 seconds, like Ghost is projecting here, DJ Chark should have a very, very busy day and could certainly outscore Josh Downs.
In my double stacks, I have more Jonathan Mingo. But yeah, I did play some DJ Chark just because I had the extra salary and I duplicated some lineups and just swapped Mingo 1 for 1 with Chark. Because I'm shooting for the moon in those lineups, right? I'm fading Mostert and I'm going to a double stacking with Waddle and Tyreek. I need a run back. If they're gonna combine for a ridiculous amount of points for a tournament winning lineup, I need a Carolina receiver in there. So I have more Mingo than Chark, but I definitely have the furthest thing from zero, DJ Chark. That's for sure.
Cool. All right. I think it's a viable punt play. Kendrick Bourne, 4,200. Any love for Kendrick Bourne?
I do have some Kendrick Bourne. I have more downs though. If we're getting into this range, the guys that you're mentioning, I have some of them. One guy, this might be dumpster diving, man, but with the running back situation in Arizona, I have a unhealthy amount of Rondale Moore in tournaments.
Dude, he's in my main lineup.
I have an unhealthy amount. So that's the thing. I'm not opposed to the Bournes, the Josh Reynolds, man. Yeah,
so I like Kendrick Bourne.
There's a decent amount of guys there, but I have an unhealthy amount of Rondale Moore with the amount of exposure I have to the Rams today. The running back situation is murky. I couldn't get to DeMarcado. I couldn't stomach it. I don't know what that backfield is going to be, especially with Dobbs' rushing ability. Rondale Moore is we're talking about DJ Chark. We need a big, one big play from these guys. Rondale Moore is the definition of the guy gets 2 targets, 175-yard reception. That could be Rondale Moore. He could easily have that.
He's going to get 5 to 8 carries too.
Easily. Like the touches are it's gonna be I don't want to disrespect Deebo Samuel by mentioning Rondale Moore in the same sentence
Yeah,
as Deebo
don't
Samuel.
do that.
So
Don't do
and
that.
it's no shade to Curtis Samuel, but it's gonna be a very Curtis Samuel type scheme for
There you go.
Rondale Moore today. It's gonna be sweep routes, it's gonna be a couple carries in the backfield, out of the slot. They're gonna move him around, a couple bubble screens here and there. Man, at 3,500, even if he doesn't get into the box, I need somebody to fabricate some sort of offense for me to, again, same thing what I'm talking about with Miami. If I'm not playing Mostert and I need this Miami double stack, somebody has to be producing on that Carolina offense. It's the same thing. If I'm not playing
Yep.
Kyron and I'm double stacking Stafford with Puka and Cooper Cup, somebody has to be generating some offense. And for me, it's going to be Rondale Moore at 3,500.
I absolutely love it. I was waiting to get to that because all the two bringbacks for Arizona are both going to be extremely popular. That's Zach Ertz. Like, what the hell is the ceiling for Zach Ertz? Zach Ertz is a cash game play. Otherwise, like for him to have a ceiling game, he's going to have to score 2
I can't
touchdowns
do it.
because it's going to
That's
be
not a
like,
run back to me. That's
yeah,
I'm
I'm forcing something.
I built a run back rule in an optimizer and it gave me Zach Ertz. Like that to me is when you think about it and your offense is putting up 28, 35, 42 points and they're really pushing the pace. Can you say that, oh yeah, the guy that's going to, really get the tempo going on the other side of the football is going to be Zach Ertz?
No, he's going to be targeted when
You
it's like a
can't do
third,
that, man.
third and
Like it's,
4. He's going to get a catch for 4 yards. He's going to get 5 catches, 28 yards, and if he
if
scores
they're
2
down by 2
touchdowns,
scores, they got to start airing it out. Dobbs is going to start running around. It's not going to be Zach Ertz.
I'm with you. I like Rondell Moore a ton. He's already been very active in the running game with James Conner. James Conner is now out, as we all know. I think Rondell Moore, and he's also getting a significant boost in targets per routes ran against cover one man, which the Rams are running a ton of. I wrote about that last week against Cincinnati as uncovering Rondell Moore as like a pivot off of Wan'Dale Robinson chalk. Rondell Moore didn't do a whole lot. He outscored Wan'Dale Robinson, so I guess that's cool. But yeah, I guess the ceiling is high. The floor is probably pretty high this week. I think we would both agree. Rondell Moore is one of our GPP pump plays of the week.
There's only
And
one other
then
guy that I'm considering in large field.
who do you got?
And this is more, it's not really for us because we spoke about that earlier in the show.
Brandon Powell.
About no, I have zero. That's a hard no for me. But we spoke about leaning on the Seattle and Cincy run game on both sides of the football. Talked about Zach Charbonnet coming off a bye week, JSN coming off a bye week. For those that are stacking
Oh,
Cincy
I want
passing
him to
game,
be a thing. I want him to
bro,
be a thing.
for those that are, I don't want to say not listening to us because these are your guys' lineups. Like you build them the way that you want. We're not telling you to remove all Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase lineups and play Joe Mixon. That's just, no. If for those that are stacking and you're like, oh, you know what, I can't decide between DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, don't forget about JSN. If you're playing the script that Joe Burrow is really airing it out and Pete Carroll wants to just go tit for tat and just start airing it out himself, like neither one of us can really see that happening. But if that's the script that you're laying out in your lineup, $3,600 JSN opens up the world for you in that stack.
Maybe Jay could get us a JSN receiving prop real quick. Let us know what the best price is. I think I'll sprinkle a little bit on his over on receiving yards. It needs to happen soon. I've drafted this guy in like 2 of my main leagues and just sitting on the bench. I don't have really a spot to play him, but he's like we do like value keeping stuff. If you draft someone after round 8, you can keep them in round 7 next year. Like I want JSN to be a thing because he's obviously a very talented player. Real quick, we got Brian's question here. I'm going to say Mixon and Kirk. But it's like cash, Mostert, Hollywood, no doubt. Tournaments, Mixon, Kirk.
I was gonna say it really depends on the type of contest. If it's a single entry 3 max or a cash type contest, it's 100% Mostert Hollywood. If it's a large field and you want to go way bolder to get to the top of the leaderboard, it's Mixon and Kirk.
Sweet. All right. Tight ends. I'm playing a ton of Logan Thomas. I'm not. I do have Hawkinson, I think, in cash. I may get off that and just go to Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's ownership is now 20%. Yeah, play Evan. Holy shit. Are you seeing the same thing on your end?
I had it at 16. I haven't refreshed. I had
Okay.
it at
So
16.
he's at
For me,
highest
it
on the
was
tight
like
end.
him and Goddard were like right there next to each other. And I just didn't want double Jacksonville because I wanted Christian Kirk. So that
Yeah.
was the only
So
reason why I went to Goddard.
play Evan Ingram in cash then if you don't have Christian Kirk already in your lineup. Yeah, Evan Ingram, he'll probably be my cash game tight end. For tournaments, I like Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas actually has the most targets inside the 5-yard line in the NFL. Him and Tyreek Hill. Jake Ferguson right there too. So, I mean, Logan Thomas, you could see Sam Howell, like he is addicted to his first read. This guy's kind of like Justin Fields was early in the season, does not read the football field. He looks at one guy, and if it's not there, he kind of just shits his pants in the pocket a little bit. But Logan Thomas is a big body wide receiver, big body tight end, and they scheme for him in the red zone. So you're probably not going to get like a 6 for 60 type of game. I don't think many tight ends on this slate. Hawkinson obviously could do that. Sam Laporta, when healthy, can do that. Could George Kittle, is George Kittle even a 6 for 60 guy anymore with how just many mouths to feed that offense has? Like Evan Ingram's probably a 6 for 60 guy.
Can he do it? Can he do it? Absolutely. Does he need to? No. That's the thing with George Kittle. Can he do it? Yeah, but he doesn't really need to in that offense.
I'm with it. So yeah, tight end's pretty easy for me. If I'm paying down, I'm paying low or playing Logan Thomas. I did mention the Mike Gesicki thing as an absolute punt. If you need to do it at 2,600, I think that he'll have him and Kendrick Bourne should probably move a lot more to the slot. I mean, Mike Gesicki pretty much is a slot receiver. Was in Miami, was so far in the limited reps that he gets in New England, but no Juju, no Demario Douglas. I think Gesicki gets a little boost up. I think his player prop, when Jay and I talked about it at 15 and 18 yards, is probably the exposure you want to get to Gesicki. Would not play a ton of him in tournaments, but if you need one punt in your lineup, I'm okay with it. But Logan Thomas and Kyle Pitts are so affordable at 3,500. Other than that, go up to Ingram or go all the way up to Hawkinson. Maybe Goddard too. I think I like your Goddard. I don't think anybody plays Goddard.
I see your Logan Thomas, and I will raise you a Tyler Conklin. I have a lot of Logan Thomas, but I want to mention Tyler Conklin. If I'm following the script again, where Zach Wilson's having trouble against that front seven, he's got to get it out quick. Tyler Conklin fits that bill for me. And one of the most utilized mini stacks for me, I mentioned Alvin Kamara at the top of the show. Dalton Schultz at 3,600. Again, sticking to that 4K and below range there. At the top, it's very clear for me. It's Goddard, Ogo, all the way up to TJ Hawkinson. But in that cluster of 3.2 to 3.8K guys, I like Logan Thomas, like you mentioned, but I'll mention Tyler Conklin and Dalton Schultz as well.
Yeah, I like that for Conklin too. He's getting a lot of work. He's getting like 6 targets a game. All right, QBs, top cash, top tournament. Go.
You start us off.
All right, I will go tournaments. Tua. I want to say Jalen Hurts. I just can't do it. I'm gonna Tua and then cash. And honestly, like small field, single entry, everything. I just love Stafford. I just don't see much of a path to failure for him. I need Arizona to score some points though. So that's, I guess, the path to failure is they are a 7-point favorite. So not projected to be that close of a ball game, but we need Arizona to score some points. So Rondell Moore's our boy.
I like it. Cash, I went Joe Burrow, and tournaments, I've been talking about it over an hour now. Tua double stacked. So Tua is going to be my tournament guy.
Let's do it. All right, running backs. Give me expensive tournament, expensive cash, let's say, and then any punts, if at all. For me, I'm not punting. I guess if I had to, if it was someone other or less than 6K, I would say Alexander Madison at 5% for tournaments. Mid-tier tournament, Joe Mixon, cash, just Mostert. You're playing Mostert in cash. And then I will say Bijan Robinson as my expensive tournament play. Shit. I'm right back in Atlanta, man. It's either Bijan or Drake.
We're going to start a dialogue. You're on a healthy obsession with the Falcons offense.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it.
The reason why I didn't play Stafford and I went to Joe Burrow is because I'm playing Kyron Williams and Raheem Mostert and cash. That's the duo for me. So a little freebie after a bye week for the two of us. I'll give you guys both cash running backs. I'm going Kyron and Mostert. Tournaments, I'm not going up to the top, but I will mention Alvin Kamara and both of us ride or die with Joe Mixon today. So
fucking score 2 touchdowns, Joe, please. We need it. Or 5 catches. 5 catches would be cool too. All right. Wide receivers for me on the upper echelon of things. Cooper Kupp. I'm not playing Kupp in cash. I will play Jamar Chase. His ownership's that high. I will play Jamar in cash. Cooper Kupp in GPPs, and then I will do everything I can to get Devontae Adams also in GPPs. If I'm punting down, it will be Drake London and or Rondale Moore.
I'm frozen right now, but
What do you got? Ghost froze. Can you guys hear him? Ghost? Technical difficulties for Ghost. Can you guys still hear us? Can someone put a comment in real quick? He's frozen over there. Internet go down in Canada? Ghost. Can anyone hear us? Okay, they can't hear me. All right, Ghost is gone somehow. I know that he... Jeff, let me know if you can hear me. Yeah, Drake London. Okay, perfect. Drake London and Rondale Moore for me are on the punt side. In cash, you certainly want to give a serious look to Hollywood Brown at 5,300 on DraftKings, ownership through the roof. And Christian Kirk, 5,400, also ownership through the roof. Potential pivot in that area for me. That's where I like Drake London. Jordan Addison, we're both going to fade. I'm not going to talk you off him if you're on him. And then up top, we liked Michael Pittman a little bit in that Jacksonville game. Calvin Ridley, I think, is an absolute smash play. If he's going to be around 10% owned, it seems like the field is going to stack Trevor Lawrence with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. I think his most deadly weapon, especially on the outside against Indy, is going to be Calvin Ridley. So Calvin Ridley at 6,700 could be a fantastic tournament play. I like that a ton. Obviously, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill is going to be ghost guys there. I don't like this huge screen, so we're going to put Ghost there. Anyway, tight ends, we just kind of covered. For cash, I'm going Evan Ingram. I believe Ghost was going Logan Thomas in cash. Dallas got it for him in cash. And then for tournaments, I like Logan Thomas. I do like Kyle Pitts, but that is scary because I've never read the Atlanta Falcons offense correctly so far this year. So if you guys got any questions, D's for GPP. All right, let's pull up defense. Don't really like to talk much about defense. Honestly, I play whatever fits. So going low, I'm okay with the Browns with this weather. I just don't think they generate much pressure because, Brock Purdy doesn't take a whole lot of sacks. I think he's like 5th in the NFL in lowest sack rate. Bucs defense for me, I'll always pick on Jared Goff on the road. The Bucs defense still does have a lot of talented people there. Probably not going to get to the Bears. Lions at 2,700 is not bad. And the Bengals. I think the Bengals D at 2,900. This could be a route. I love Joe Mixon this week. I think the Bengals defense is relatively respectable. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks too, like you saw last week with Dobbs. Seattle doesn't carry me. I think that'd be my answer. Just looking at it now, Mark, I think my favorite GPP defense would be the Bengals and pairing him with Joe Mixon. I like that a ton. If you had to pay up, like obviously the Dolphins are a smash. I think the Jaguars had no ownership, could generate a lot of pressure on Gardner Minshew. And then obviously top of the board, everybody's good, like the Raiders, whatever. I'm not paying that much for a defense. I think the Bengals, now that you mentioned it, I like them a lot. Any other questions? Anybody else? Give you like 30 seconds here, and then we'll get out of here. So, yeah, good luck to everybody. In terms of weather, I will pull that up real quick. I think the only concerned area is Chicago, and then obviously Cleveland is full of rain, so that's going to be a little bit sketchy. That's why that total's down in like the 30s. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Looks like Jacksonville is going to be clear. Carolina and Miami should be relatively clear. Maybe a little windy in Detroit, Tampa Bay, but I wouldn't worry about that. So yeah, the only bad weather situations are Chicago. I'd say that's like a mid-tier. Like, not going to talk you off everybody in that game, but San Francisco, Cleveland's probably going to be pretty gross. So on and off showers throughout the game. We'll see. But yeah, thanks to all for the support. Hit the like button. Go check out the player prop model. Brand new. It's been awesome. If you got any questions on it or think something's way off, just let us know. But I would recommend looking at that 2 days before the slate. So if you're looking for Sunday props on the prop model, it should be all up to date on Friday. Obviously, injuries and stuff to consider for the Friday injury report, Saturday injury report. Jeff, here we go. 5K. Let me pull up FanDuel, wide receiver. Rondale Moore's more of a PPR guy for me, so I don't think he would be the answer on FanDuel. Jonathan Mingo. Yeah, as much as I don't love DJ Chark, but I like the idea of a 0% owned guy like that. I think Jonathan Mingo runs a lot of routes around 9 to 10 yard ADOT, and he's running routes in the red zone if they get to the red zone. But yeah, give me Jonathan Mingo. And I'll keep looking for you if there's anything grosser than that. I mean, that's probably it. I mean, if they're chasing points that early, he's not going to leave the field. Yeah, Jonathan Mingo. I mean, Tyquan Thornton is the dirt cheap minimum. He's going to play today. I mean, not terrible. That's gross. Go with Mingo. All right, guys. Great show. Appreciate all the support. Good luck. And let me know if you need anything on Discord or Twitter. Good luck.